I've been thinking about doing this video for a while now, but I thought the rot hadn't got too bad. Well, I thought it could be rectified, but apparently we're in a state of absolute shambles at Spurs, and I'd like to thank good old lad, Cam Flanagan. Irish lad. I honestly didn't know there was another person who was a Spurs fan, who loved K-pop, films, memes, wrestling. I didn't know there was another person like me in the world. Honestly, I just need to find another 150,000 of you on YouTube, and then we're all good here. But but yeah, he said something maybe a couple weeks ago about the Spurs situation, being like, maybe talk about it. I'd like to hear your thoughts, and I have a lot of thoughts about what is exactly going wrong at Spurs right now. I think that number one is that we've won 1/3 of our games in this calendar year so far. Now, at the end of the day, the performances are one thing, but if you get the result at the end of it, no one really cares. That's what United did for a decade, basically. Even if they won 1-0 or they struggled to a 2-1 win, and they didn't deserve to win, they still won, and it counted as 3 points. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. But the fact is, we haven't been getting the 3 points. We haven't been getting the W's. And I think that the Champions League final, you know, this is... I got this kit at the beginning of this season, and it just came through a couple weeks ago, but I ordered it a while ago, because I was like, this is an iconic kit for me. You know, this kit will stay in my mind forever as a Spurs fan. Some people think it's a shit kit. I love it. But I think the Champions League run we had last year really papered over a lot of cracks that were coming throughout last season, bleeding into now this season and forming into the situation we have now with Spurs. It's a great achievement that we got to the Champions League final. Ultimately, we lost. You know, yeah, I think if we'd won, I think it would have been a really great bookend to whatever situation that would have unfolded afterwards. If Poch had left, or if Eriksen had left then, or, you know, Alderweireld or Vertonghen, if they'd left then, I think it would have been like a send-off and being like, go with our graces. But in the state Spurs are in now, you know, it doesn't look like Poch really wants to be there. He said that at the end of last season really, so I was surprised by the fact he actually stayed. There wasn't really anywhere for him to go, though, to be honest, so I'd be interested to see if he actually stays on next season, or if he can rebuild around the squad that he has now. Personnel, though, you know, Eriksen is arguably our second best player. And the fact you're not playing him because, well, he said some things which doesn't help squad unity and that type of stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's your guy. You need him in the middle of the park dictating what's going on. And if you're not going to play him, then why are you going to expect results to go well if you're not going to play your best players? You know, for me, I know how I would set up the Spurs team. Poch obviously has a different mindset right now with a diamond, which I don't think works. I think it stretches the team too much. I think that there's so much concentration in the centre of the park, and going from left to right for the holding midfielders and even the attacking midfielder is almost impossible. You know, they just get tired. They'll have a great... This is something I've seen with Spurs the whole season so far. They will play great for 40 minutes. 40 minutes of the game, they will really, really dominate. They might have 10 minutes second half, and they will be slaughtered for the rest of the time. So, you know, if Spurs don't get a couple goals in the first 25, 30 minutes, they're probably going to end up struggling in the game. And I think that's sort of been the way it has gone down so far. So personnel number one, the fact that Eriksen, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Rose, they're all on, you know, their last year of their contracts. And I understand with Vertonghen, you know, he's like 31 or 32 now, so you don't want to give him like a 4-year deal, obviously, but give him a 1-year deal with the possibility of another year. Just do it. Pay him the money he wants. He is still one of the best defenders in the world, and his partnership with Alderweireld arguably has been the best partnership in the Premier League for the past 3 years, besides this start of this season. Rose as well, he was the best left back in the league a couple of years ago, and he hasn't just lost that. I think Trippier being sold was also a terrible, terrible move. He went with all the blessings in the world, but, you know, the fact we didn't replace him with anyone, I thought Wan-Bissaka would have been the guy to replace him, maybe overvalued, but I think he could have been potentially a long-term fit. United got him, you know, he's going to be there for 10 years. And I think that Spurs should have really looked at getting someone nailed in at that right back position, because I don't think that Serge Aurier, while he's, I think, good attacking wise, he gets forward really well, his defensive play is absolutely shoddy. I don't think Kyle Walker-Peters is up to it. Just from the things I've seen from him, he's had one good game and he played really well in a game where I think he assisted a couple goals. And then he's had every other game he's had, for me, he just hasn't looked solid at all. The game against Barcelona just springs to mind when I think of his name, which is not good because he basically caused us that goal. But at the end of the day, you need to play your best players. And if I was to set up Spurs right now, Lloris also now being injured has not helped anything. I mean, you'd have to have Gazzaniga in goal, who I think is solid. He's fine. And I don't know if he's a long-term replacement for Lloris, but I think he's a good second-choice goalkeeper, and he would probably be a good fit for most Premier League teams outside of the top 5 or 6. I think if you look at it, you have Gazzaniga at the in the post in between there. I'd put Aurier on the right. Then I'd have to have Vertonghen and Alderweireld in the middle, Rose on the left. This is where the shit gets tricky, because you'd have I think Son plays better up front without Kane. But if Kane's playing, Son plays better on the wing. And you're not going to take Kane out of the team for no reason unless he's injured. So I'd have Kane up top, Son on the left, cutting in on his right. He can also play on the right, it just depends. I'd have Eriksen in the middle of the park with Sissoko and Ndombele. Winks, unfortunately, just wouldn't get in the team. While I think he could probably do a job, maybe Sissoko comes out and Winks comes in. And then I'd play Ali or Moura on the other side. Or I'd put Eriksen on the wing or right mid if Ali's playing in the centre. And then if I wanted Moura to play, I think I would probably have the front four at this point, because of Ali being injured a lot. I think he still has a lot to give to the team and a lot to give to Spurs over the next couple of years. But I would probably say that you'd have Kane up front, Son on the left, Moura on the right, and then Eriksen, just behind Kane, maybe as an attacking midfielder, but maybe not as another striker there. And then I'd have Ndombele and either Winks or Sissoko. That's how I would set up the team with that back four. I think that would be a much more stable team with one definite holding midfielder and one to burst forward to join the attack with those front four, because if you know this channel at all, that I have a very hard spot. I was going to say soft spot, it doesn't really work, for Eric Lamela. He's a sack of shit. He's garbage, in my opinion. I don't know why they gave him a new contract. He hasn't really done much for Spurs, in my opinion, over his 5-year, 6-year career there now. And for me, he's even now overrated. I mean, the fact he got, I think, an 80 in FIFA 20 is just beyond me. I mean, he hasn't really done anything for years. But another reason why I think there are problems is, well, it's been a long time and they haven't won anything, man. Eventually teams want to win something. This is the best Spurs team I've seen in my lifetime. And if we don't win something now, I don't know when we're going to win something. That's really, really, really true. I mean, we won the Carling Cup when it was called the Carling Cup, all right? We've got to some finals, a lot of semi-finals. But at the end of the day, these players want to get to the point where they look back in 10 years' time and say, oh, we won this, we won this, we won this, we won the FA Cup even, we won the Europa League at one point, if that was the case. But, that type of stuff is a draw for players. It builds a unity. The fact you won something together makes you want to stay there more. It's about camaraderie, and I think Poch is a good manager. But I don't think he's been doing that job particularly well this year so far. I think a lot of the players are relatively underpaid. It's crazy to say a footballer is underpaid, but compared to their contemporaries at City and United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester, Spurs players are are really relatively underpaid. You know, I don't know what the breakdown is for everyone on the team, but I know that Ali, Eric Lamela, Kane just got new deals. Son got one at the end of last year, I think up to like 150 grand a week. And the fact Son's on 150 a week now, you know, I don't know what Sané's on at Man City, but I would think it's probably close to there, and I think Son contributes a lot more to Spurs than Sané does to City. You know, I think that Spurs have done phenomenally well to get to the point they have done with the finances and funds and making a new stadium and getting things all set up the way they have done, a new training facility. Everything's really been on the up for Spurs over the last 6 years or so, really, 5 years at least, since Poch came in, and by setting up the training facilities and all that type of stuff. And now, you know, you go through phases, and maybe this is Poch's end phase. I don't know. I really don't, because who knows, someone might get a second wind in them, and I'm talking about Poch here, and take the team to a FA Cup final and win the FA Cup at the end of the season. You never know. The league is absolutely out of question at this point. It's not even up for debate. Yeah, it seems like Liverpool is just going to run away with the league and steal it. They're literally going to steal it the whole season, the way it's gone so far. But yeah, you never know. Champions League is still open. You know, we had a really bad start to the Champions League last year. Who knows? We could get to the final again. Highly unlikely with the form we've just played and losing 7-2 to Bayern Munich. Also, I'm not really buying the 7-2 being... I mean, it's an awful result. Let's not joke about here. But it's not the terrible result people are claiming it to be. Because Spurs were 4-2 down. They just got that second goal. Eriksen came on and almost scored a third in an instant. And at that point, Poch said, fuck it. We might as well go for it. If we lose, we lose. But we might as well go for it. And because we had, I think, 6 forward players on, you know, attacking midfielding players on, it ended up just ripping us apart at the back. I don't look at that 7-2 result as badly as I looked upon the Brighton result at the weekend. I think the Brighton result at the weekend was much worse from a performance standpoint and an overall team standpoint than the Bayern Munich result, because I saw what Poch was doing and the concept and what he was trying to push with that. Try and go forward, try and get that third goal. If it's 4-3, it's completely open at that point. It went 4-2. We almost scored a couple of times between it going 5-2 and it potentially going 4-3. It just didn't happen. And I don't think that 7-2 result will go down in history for Spurs as an awful result. But I don't think it's as shit as a result as possible. It's crazy because it's literally a FIFA scoreline. But for me, the Brighton result was a worse result. And it was a worse performance than what we gave against Bayern Munich. Other things, I think that the way Poch trains, I've seen it, I've watched it, he trains so intensely. And for some players, that is chill, I suppose, especially when you're younger. But it gets to a point where you're like, why are we doing all of this, man? Like, they might be being slightly overworked. I felt this at the end of last season. You know, watching their drills, seeing them, they didn't all seem in it. I won't play. Son is always seemingly in it. He just gives 100% every time. But I think that maybe Poch slightly overworks them on the training field, and it's been fine, and he's been doing it for 3-4 years now like this, 5 years, but I think there's a tipping point as to maybe he needs to change the way he handles these players and the way they train, because I don't think it's really working that well for them. I think that's a huge factor that's being missed right now. Also, I think that the players are just they just feel done. And that is the worst thing by far. They just feel depleted. They feel demoralized. Sometimes when I watch them, there's like no fight in them. Like they don't want to do anything. They just want to sit there and hold it back and hold it in and not do anything. Run around, but not run around with any purpose sometimes. I'm saying run around like they're on a bloody school playground, but that's the vibe it sort of gives sometimes. And I think Poch's tendency to jump around in terms of the way that he conveys his thoughts to the media, I don't think in any way that helps. So there's a lot of things here, a lot of negative things as to why there are a lot of problems at Spurs. I think the way the league's gone, it's completely possible we could finish third. It's going to be a tough fight to the end of the season, I think, unless we really get our shit straight in the next, month. But considering how bad everyone else has done, basically, we're only like 3 points off of third place as it is right now. So we can say Spurs are doing so badly, and they haven't done well, but no one else has done that great other than Liverpool and partially City. Even City haven't done incredible, but they've done much better than Spurs, let's not play. But Spurs have something over City. Initially, they beat them out of the Champions League back in the day. I think 2009-10, Crouchy scored that goal. And they actually got to a Champions League final before Manchester City. Both those things were done by Spurs. And thankfully, Sonny was involved in one of them. But yeah, I just think that overall, the club seems to be going in a direction which is negative, and it could spiral really, 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 really far out of control. And I don't want that. I really don't. No one wants that. Unless you're an Arsenal fan, you might want that, you fucking sluts. You might want that. You might. You're still finishing below us this season. If we finish 17th, you're finishing 18th and getting relegated. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, guys, those are my opinions. Whether they're good or bad, they are indeed mine. And if you did enjoy this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel down there. If you didn't, then Son himself will come after you. All right, now what will he do to you? He can't, he will just smile at you. He will smile at you so wide that it will be like you're being engulfed by the sun. You'll actually burn alive. Yep, these threats are getting a bit too peak at this point, but you don't want that. You really don't, so just subscribe anyway to avoid that. Now, I've been NarendraTheComic. You've been great. I'll see you next time. Skadoosh.